Hi, my name is Sakiynah Wise. I have been in Colorado for many, many years. I'm originally from Memphis, Tennessee. I do non-representational art, mixed media art. I do design-based art. My favorite is non-representational art, just because I can just let things flow and I can put meaning to it without something having to look concrete. I come from a history of immense trauma, and art was my way out. I was born in a cult, and where I was at, you had to be very careful of the way you moved. So it's like you don't have anybody to talk to. So all I had was these little pieces of paper that I would find, and I just started drawing. My sister showed me how to draw girls in bikinis, which was not something we were allowed to do, like showing body parts and different things like that. So it was kind of like a rebellion. And then that turned into, because my first language is Arabic. And so I was learning how to read and write in Arabic. And so I started, scribbling, pretending I knew how to write. And so then that turned into more like non-representational art, because I'm putting my thoughts into these forms on paper that doesn't really mean anything to somebody else, but it means everything to me. When I was 14, I joined Art Street. I found through flyers and friends in the neighborhood a Art Street flyer. Through that, there was a lot of deep diving into poetry and to meaning behind the art, even more so, and kind of helped me get the thoughts that I was already doing, like into a classification. I was learning graffiti art and learning the history behind graffiti art. I was able to kind of pull different elements of what I was feeling and adding poetry, spoken word to it, rather than just I still keep everything inside mostly, but having to express myself outwardly, I don't know, and then hearing other people, other artists express their stuff and not feeling alone, I'm like, oh, this is a healing thing for them as well. I do want to talk about my mental health piece, right? I had my first major anxiety attack when I was 15 going on 16, and I didn't know what that was. I was first diagnosed with major depressive disorder, OCD, everything. Am I my diagnosis? That's not it at all. You got to go into these things to learn to understand, so that you're not judging yourself. Because you look back and you're like, I wouldn't judge somebody else who was dealing with these things. My biggest thing is I understand I'm going back to categorizations, and people want to box you into different things. But I think me growing as an artist, pushing the limits against things, and I think it's really helped me in a way where I'm not boxing other parts of myself, because I'm like, oh, I don't want to be boxed in as an artist, but then I'm realizing, well, you don't want to deal with this medium because you want control using this medium, like acrylics versus oils versus watercolor. I think it was 2 years ago now, I started delving into more watercolors, which I didn't want to do. I have this deep appreciation for water, and also a healthy amount of fear of it. But let's see where it kind of goes. I can still use it as a form of release, and also acceptance. When you're coming from a background of strict things and having to make sure you're operating in a way so that you're not being targeted, right, in abuse and things like that, it's like you want to control everything. You don't realize you're doing that, but you are. But it's like you have to let go and just let things ride out, and I always realize things always just work out. I did for 2020, I was the graphic artist for Metropolitan State University's MLK Peace Breakfast. So, and my theme was water, and I called it the act of fluidity. And and talking about the rights of farmers, and especially indigenous farmers, and and how these people are trying to control water. You're trying to control everything that's free, that's natural. That's the type of, going into activism and things like that. It's like, where do you fit and what do you do with what you're given, and art is what I'm given. As a Black queer woman, I and mother. You know, I was like the only mother in my class. I'm gonna always go back to these boxes, but what I've learned the history and behind graphic design and how little they hire Black people in general. So it's like you always have to carve your own path, especially as a Black woman, especially a Black queer woman. It's like you want to change the world, but you got to do it in your own way. You look at artists of the past, I wouldn't be able to have this opportunity without them have paving the way here. You know, think about James Baldwin and Maya Angelou, just like this different things they say, and how it's like art and artists, we are the way forward. The most important part of being is to be. We live in a very capitalistic society world, and it'll try to force you to just focus on material gain and status and things like that. But in the end, those things ebb and flow. So really being in tune with who you are, but just fully being I think is what I would give my past self. You're important. It's okay for you to be all that you are with all your quirks and all your flaws. You got to give yourself grace to be able to grow past what you didn't know before.